2 has entered the podcast.
Welcome back, people, to Player 2 has entered the podcast. I am your co-host, Michael, a.k.a. MC Paperstacks, and with me, as always, is my co-host with the co-most,
Derek, a.k.a. Full Metal Merc, and welcome back.
Yeah, we got a show full of video games, because this is a video game podcast. I need to remind myself to remind everybody else what the show is about.
Hell yeah.
We got some nerd shit on the docket. We're going to catch up on our week. And speaking of catching up, what's going on with you this week, Derek?
Honestly, man, this week has been pretty lax as far as everything. Work, play, just everything. I found myself in a bit of a gaming rut, as it were, after beating Xenoblade Chronicles and wanting to continue playing Judgment, but just not having that push. And this usually happens to me when I'm playing any Yakuza style game. Like, I get to a certain point, I'm just like, do I want to keep playing? I want to keep playing this, but I don't have the drive right now. So
that's so random, because I feel like that happens to me. I think I told you how that happened to me in Judgment a little bit, but then I went back to it again. But yeah, that happens a lot with those games. Why is that, do you think?
I think I don't know, I feel like those games are just so long-winded for the type of game that it is. Because at the end of the day, it's a beat-em-up. At the end of the day.
True.
At its most base form. So there's just a lot of soap opera-y stuff behind it, and then there's all the side quests, and then there's the running that's not even really that fast. I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah,
I wish you could run faster.
True. You strip away the novelty of just being in such a different environment, because even though there's been so many Yakuza games, Kamurocho just continues to delight and distract. But then when you break it down to what is Judgment, it is tailing missions, which are, who the fuck likes tailing missions?
Oh my god, I hate them.
Investigations where you have to slowly pan around until you find the thing that you need to find. Lots of dialogue and just lots of fights. And while they do get interesting and you occasionally will unlock a new suite of abilities that makes things fun for a bit, then it kind of goes back to routine again very quickly. So, not to knock the game, still great, still love it. I think the presentation is what really ties all those gameplay elements together. I mean, we talked about Horizon Zero Dawn and how those games take familiar genre tropes and kind of spin them just enough to where they feel fresh, and they all kind of fit together in a cohesive unit. You know, aside from like the very, very end, I didn't really hit any kind of need for a second wind, right? Once I got close to by the time I was starting to get sick of the game, I was literally on the last mission, so we were good to go.
Right, yeah. So, I'm waiting on something really, really crazy to happen in the game where I can be like, oh, wow, this is the Yakuza moment. This is the Kazuma Kiryu moment of this game. Because I remember, I think it was Yakuza Kiwami 2, where Kiryu literally is running into a castle to save someone, and then he has to fight like 2 tigers.
And they jump the tiger.
Fucking nuts. Right, and he kicks the tiger's ass. And it's great. But yeah, man, like I said, I've been in the rut, so I switched over to a different type of game that I'll talk about later.
Okay.
Other than that, Vicky has actually jumped back into Fire Emblem for her 3rd playthrough. Okay. And she's just like, I need to marry someone different, because when you marry someone different, your life changes dramatically, and I need to see how that plays out. It's the romance for me. And I'm like,
oh, Vicky.
Wow. Right. I was like,
love
wow.
her. I saw her actually booted up recently. I love that she loves that game, because I wouldn't say it's hardcore, I do too. But it's a game. It's a video game.
Yeah, it's definitely in there. And the fact that this is her 3rd playthrough, and she played and beat the DLC as well. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, she's hardcore She's a Fire Emblem fan for life, I'm sure.
Oh, we got to get together and talk about Three Houses, because I've done the same. I've beat it 3 times, and I beat all the DLC, and I've even married myself, which is an option that you can do.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically Sothis, but it's you,
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I was like, word, you can just give the ring to yourself? I'm doing that.
Dope. Yeah.
Can't nobody do me like me.
I don't know. Are the other Fire Emblem games similar to Three Houses as far as like the social aspect?
No.
Or is this the first one to do that?
Well, yes and no. Let me try to explain. So Fire Emblem, as far back as when I started playing on the Game Boy Advance, always had what you would call unit affinity. So if you have 2 units that are fighting next to each other, they can actually fight more effectively as their bond grows, like from C to A or even S if they end up being romantic. I don't remember it being as involved until we got to Awakening on the 3DS. With Awakening, you had special cutscenes and kind of bonding moments, and of course they implemented that with Fates, and they implemented that even with Fire Emblem Warriors. But for me, and another Fire Emblem fan out there can correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't played every single one. But for me, Three Houses is the game that really took that up a notch, because yeah, you're still having cutscenes, but it's the whole running around the monastery and hanging out with people in between battles. It feels more Persona-esque, because you have a limited amount of time and a limited amount of ability to hang out with different people and do different activities. And of course, you can actually still increase your bond if you fight next to certain units in the field. Like, that's still a thing. But obviously the bulk of your bonding happens when you're back at the monastery in the in-between parts, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That I've never seen that outside of Three Houses. Usually it's the bonding within battles, because you go from battle to battle, and then the cutscenes. There's no, like Crom running around like the camp, like, hey guys, you want to go drink tea? That never happened.
Right. Okay. So I need Persona to come out on the Switch, Persona 5, so I can get her to play that.
Yes, because
I feel like she would love it.
She probably would love Persona. You're right. You may need to do a little bit of hand-holding, because Persona can be a bit hardcore if you're not already super familiar with how Japanese RPGs work.
Right.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about. You and I can jive very quickly with wind is effective against this enemy, so use wind, the extra attacks and stuff. And I think Persona 5 in particular does a pretty good job of explaining the system. But when you detour from that system, or you miss a particular tutorial, or don't quickly pick up on a concept, it punishes you pretty harshly.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. Maybe just stick around to be FAQ guy for the first dungeon or so.
The first 20 hours.
Yeah. Oh my God. Hey man, she sat and watched Final Fantasy X with you.
Right.
That's the least you can do.
True. But yeah, so she's really into that, and it's actually her and her sister's birthday tomorrow. So I went on ahead and got them a couple of new games. I got Vicky the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Ooh, I heard that shit's real good.
Really? Oh, I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah. You should have her come on the show and talk about it once she gets a chance to sink her teeth into it.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, she had bought the trilogy on the e-store, or on the eShop, and she's like, she liked it, but it was old. Like, it felt old. And I know that the Chronicles games are re-releases of the games that were released in Japan. I don't remember when they came out, but I know that they're newer than the older trilogy. So
right. No, I hear this newest one, like, people are raving about it on Twitter right now.
Oh, that's so exciting. Yeah.
They're like, I hear you about games getting delayed, but who the fuck needs to play any game ever now that this game is out? I'm like, oh, okay, well, okay,
Wow.
fair enough. Oh, well, all right, okay.
Dope. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I also picked up Veronica Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remastered on the Switch.
Here I am,
Yeah.
doing everything I can, holding on to what I am, pretending I'm a Superman.
Hell yeah.
That's
that's
religious.
Right. I was never
spirit when I
really
hear
into
that
the
song.
Tony Hawk. Right. I was never into the Tony Hawk games like that. Like, I always played them over someone's house. I never owned one myself, but they said that they used to love playing those games. So
I was fucking obsessed, dude. I have clear memories. My best buddy at the time, his name is Kit. He and I hung out all through middle school and part of high school. Like, we were just thick as thieves. And I remember we got the chance to try out the demo for the original Tony Hawk's. You know, you had those demo discs you can get from Pizza Hut and shit.
Yeah.
They had like 6 PlayStation games on it. And that 2 minutes of Superman and the warehouse level is just burned into my brain. Like, it was such a good fucking demo. And then when the game came out, one of my most favorite things, and I remember I reached out to him the other day, like, we got to recreate this memory. Tony Hawk's 2 came out, and we rented Tony Hawk's 2. And we got Gladiator to date it. So Gladiator just come out, so we rented that too. We were going to have a movie night, watch Gladiator, play Tony Hawk's. And we went to King's Barbecue, and we got a whole barbecue chicken, some sides. And then when Kit saw that you could order slices of bread individually, he goes, order 27 slices of bread. And I did, and the chick was so annoyed with us. But she did it. So all this bread. Just because he thought it was funny to actually order such an odd amount. It was magical, man. We had a ton of fun, and I miss just being a kid and hanging out with your buddies and doing shit, like just knowing that like the weekend's here. Let's just fucking just hang out.
Do whatever.
Yeah.
I miss that shit.
I miss that shit too. I'm looking forward to watching Ben go through that part of his life. You know, having friends come over and them hanging out. I'm gonna at this point have to live vicariously through him. So.
Right. But yeah, man. Other than that, we're going to the casino tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're gonna try and win us some money. All
right.
And you know, hopefully the slots are on our side. The slots, the tables, the whatever. Like I've never won. I've been not really. I've been to the. I've been to the casino twice in my life, and both times I lost all my money. So third time's a charm. It was never like a ridiculous amount. It's like go like $100 or $200, but
yeah. Well, you hopefully, because this is what I do. This is my only strategy that I have. You take and set aside the amount of money that you're going to spend, and spend no more. So that way you don't end up getting yourself in a hole.
Right.
Okay. Whenever I get the opportunity, because I don't go on my own, it's usually like part of a work trip or something. Like, oh, we're gonna gamble, and the company's gonna give you $20. I'm like, I'm gonna add 80 to that, and we'll see where we get.
Right.
And I have to be real diligent about that, because usually at those events it's all you can drink, because they want to get you nice and liquored up, so you'll keep gambling.
Right.
Which would totally work. Like, what the fuck? What's another $80? I'm drunk. Woo!
Right. Woo!
Yeah, it works, man, on a lot of people. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, I wish you good luck. I'm crossing my fingers for you. Come on, Sevens. Yes. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes.
Right. Ashy Larry needs some shoes.
All right. Well, not a whole lot's been going on with me this week. I've had a bit of a reckoning recently. My wife and I were going through like this kind of psychological test to see where our lives are at as far as the work we're doing to be more complete human beings, and the areas kind of where we're still, needing improvement. It's like one of those things you can do on BreneBrown.com, because we listen to her podcast, and she's doing like a series where she's reading through this Gifts of Imperfection book with her sisters. Anyways, to catch you up, we actually did really well. In a lot of areas we were aligned, but my weakest area was meaningful work. I don't do meaningful work. I don't do work that is meaningful to me, which is like fucking duh. I work a soul-sucking 9-to-5 job that I hate, and it's just the source of all my anxiety. It takes up at least 40 hours, usually more, because we have a lot of forced overtime of my week. Facing down that's pretty much the only thing in my life that isn't going ideally makes me think about nothing but it. So I'm going to be reaching out to different connections and seeing if maybe I can leverage more of these skills that I do enjoy. I know other people that do podcasts. Maybe I could start doing some editing for people. I know people that do video game related shit. Like, I'm going to try to continue doing the stuff that I do and increase those skills. But I heard something when they were talking about on the podcast that I didn't want to hear, which is to get to meaningful work, because they all had high scores. They looked at the work that they did and the skills required, and any skills they didn't have, they had to skill up. And to me, that sounds like I have to go back to school, which I really don't want to fucking do.
Right.
But I may have to. Like, I may need to go to school for writing. I may need to go to school for social media. I may need to go to school for editing, because those are the 3 areas that I need to improve if I want to do the work that I want to do,
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I've been thinking about this week. It's not been fun for me to have to face that down, but I guess that's kind of the first step to fixing it, is realizing it's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I wish you luck, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's kind of tough to realize that at 40. Kind of wish I had that realization when I was at 20.
Right.
I just feel it's not too late, because it's never too late, right? But at the same time, it's like, I'm too tired. I have a family. I can't.
Yeah, it's like you got another 60 years in you, bud.
Ooh, I wish. I don't think this body's gonna hold out that long. Too many cheeseburgers, buddy. We'll see.
Ooh, baby.
We'll see. I'm looking at my grandparents, like, they're in their 70s and they're tapped out. And I'm like, I don't think they're gonna make it to see 80. Yikes. So I don't think we live that long in my family. Anyways. But as long as we're living, we're playing video games. What a segue.
Hell yeah.
What you playing this week, Derek?
I am playing new Pokemon Snap.
Hey, I've been wanting to
Yes.
check that out for a while, and I'm glad that you did this week. Really want to play that with Ben. What'd you think?
So here's the thing. When I told you earlier I was in that rut, I was just like looking for something to play on the Switch because I was really enjoying playing Xenoblade just whenever I wanted. And I was like, I started going through Vicky's games because she has more Switch games than me, which doesn't make any fucking sense. But I was just looking through and I was like, Yoshi, no. Fire Emblem Warriors, no. New Pokemon Snap, I guess. So I went ahead and plugged that bitch in. Oh my god. I love it.
Yeah?
Yes, I love it. At first, when you first start out, you just got your camera and you're just snapping the photos. And it's a game that makes you go through the levels multiple times to get your level up. And when you level up the area that you're in, then new Pokemon start to show up. And the old Pokemon that were there start to do different things. You get the ability to throw this fruit called Fluff Fruit to make the Pokemon eat them, and then they'll make them do different things. Then you get a melody that you can play, can make Pokemon dance, and you get these Illumina orbs that you can throw at a Pokemon and makes them glow, and they might do something real crazy. Like if you throw one at a Dodrio, it'll just jump up really high in the air and start kicking its feet. And it's like, you take the picture and you're like, 4 stars, bitch. But yeah, man, I've just been playing it on, the fucked up thing is I've been playing it on handheld mode like the whole time. Vicky even said last night, she's like, why don't you play it on the TV so Nora can see how cool it is?
Yeah, why don't you share that with your 4-year-old daughter, the magic of taking pictures of Pokemon.
Right? I was like, maybe later. I don't know. Like, I legit went upstairs, laid in the bed, and played Pokemon Snap while watching Kung Fu Panda.
Wow.
It was just, I don't know. It's a very calming, serene game.
That's
and
great.
It makes me feel good. And the progression, it makes me want to progress. I'm like, oh man, that picture was terrible. I need to go back through this and get a better one. Or I just missed this Quagsire jumping into the water. That's a mission that this other person asked me to do, so I gotta go back through the level and get that picture. And just, there's so many things. And oh my god, I want to see if there's a legendary Pokemon somewhere. Just so much stuff going through your head. And there's so many fucking Pokemon.
Yeah.
That
damn near
exists
1,000
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's I'm seeing so many Pokemon, I have no idea what they are. I was like, what the hell is that? Because I'm besides starters, I'm Johto. And back.
I was a little further along than you. The last game that I maxed out my decks, or actually got the full, the little, the in-game certificate that you get, was Diamond and Pearl, which is Gen 4?
That's 4? Yeah.
Yeah, because Gen 5 was Black and White, right?
Yeah, and 3 was Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah, Black and White started my trend of still getting the next mainline game and playing through it, maybe doing some post-game stuff, but not caring so much about filling out my decks.
Right.
Yeah, that was the point in my life where I was like, I no longer can commit to just this one game. My resources have increased and my time has decreased. Therefore, I have too many games to play and not enough time to play them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's that eternal paradox all of us older gamers live through. It is such a mind fuck when you think about it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm so happy to hear back when we were younger. Yeah, it's
God,
great.
I know, right? Youth and money money wasted on the old, youth wasted on the young.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that sounds awesome. Yeah, you're kind of selling me on it a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's a time, man. And I think Ben would love it. I think Nora would love it. Just looking like, oh look, it's the fucking Pikachu.
let's have a Pokemon Snap party. Let's do it.
Hey.
Yeah, bring your family over, and we'll all hang out in the living room. We'll hook it up, and you can take us through and show us how it works. And we'll hang out. We'll catch Pokemon for an afternoon. How's that sound?
Hey, that sounds like a fun time.
Sounds like a plan. Let's set that plan. All right. Well, as usual, I played a few more games, but it's just the nature of the streaming show. I literally bake it in, so I am forced to play different games every week. But the game that I've been playing to kind of relax, my Pokemon Snap this week, it's still been Octopath Traveler.
Okay.
I'm slowly, and the game is massive, but I'm slowly chipping away. I literally just finished the last chapter 2. I don't know if have you beat Octopath?
No, I've barely played Octopath.
Okay.
But I know that each character like has a set amount of chapters, or you play through the game as each character. So.
Right. Yeah, so to kind of firm it up for you and then for the folks listening, you have 8 characters, obviously. Each character has 4 chapters. So I am literally halfway through the game because I just finished the final character's chapter 2.
Okay.
So now everybody's on chapter 3. One thing I've noticed recently when replaying the game that I kind of have to admit to myself is the game is great. Don't get me wrong. I really like the game. And I think the best part about the game really is the traveler actions, how each character has a unique way that they affect the world. We've talked about it a little bit. You got a character that can buy stuff from people and a character that can steal. The character that can steal can also open special chests in the world. The character that can buy will just randomly find money every new area you go to. You have a character that can challenge people to a duel and another character that can sick animals on them, a la Pokemon. You can catch monsters and they have unique actions in the world. You know, it just depends on who you're playing as. The thing that I think where this game falls short is the writing. The overall stories are decent and interesting. They vary. I mean, some stories are kind of flat. You know, you have stories of revenge, stories of betrayal, stories. The thief story is kind of interesting. The thief gets roped into trying to steal from this mansion, only to find out that the mansion was purposely releasing rumors to lure in a strong thief. And then when they caught him, they're like, they put this bangle of shame on him that he can't remove, and it just shows that he fucked up. So it's like a Scarlet's letter for like a thief. And they will not remove it until he goes and steals some treasure that was actually taken from them. So he has to travel the world and find that treasure and steal it back for them, which is interesting on paper, right?
Yeah.
Where the game falls short in pretty much all of these stories, save for a few scenes here and there, is the writing. The dialogue is just bad. And it took me a while to really reckon with that, but I have to admit it, the dialogue sucks. A lot of it's really sappy, rote, redundant, and there are a lot of scenes that you could completely remove from the game completely, and it wouldn't change characterization or growth or the story at all. I can't count the number of times where I'm in the middle of a chapter and I'm trying to leave the town, and the person that I interacted with the town was like, "Wait! I just wanted to say farewell. Here is a gift. Thank you for all that you have done." No, it was my pleasure. I am so glad to have the information I need to carry on the hunt for the monster that my master was petrified by. I will find this monster, and I will defeat them. Pray that you do, but be careful, for the road is treacherous, and there are monsters. Right. I will be careful. Thank you so much for your kind words. The words that you said were kind. I like the kind words that you said, and I will cherish this olive of life that you have given me forever. Or I might just use it on the next battle if somebody gets killed unexpectedly. Bye.
Right.
And I mean, it's just, and I want to skip it, but then part of me is like, if you skip this scene, you might miss something crucial or interesting. So don't skip it. So then I don't. And the other weird thing, and I've always had a beef with the game with this game in particular about this, and I think I told you this before. You may already know this from playing it just briefly. Even though you're traveling with 7 other companions, only can have 4 in your party at one time, obviously.
Right.
When you do your story scenes, you're by yourself, and some of them just don't make sense. So you'll be like, you're all alone, and we're going to defeat you, you know, and then, like, your buddies come in for the actual fight. Or you're playing as the warrior, and he's in a tournament, and he's fighting against other champions, but your party members come in and fight, too. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But in the scenes, he's back to being by himself. So it's like they wrote all these things to where you would play it by yourself, but you have all the companions. And to offset that, occasionally after a scene, it says press start to listen to banter, and they'll bring up 2 of the characters, and they'll talk about the story. So it's like the characters are around because they can comment on what's going on with your story, but then they're not because they're not in the scenes. It's really weird. I don't understand it. But again, the game is fun mechanically, and I guess that's kind of one of the more important things for an RPG. But I'd argue that there are genres of games, including RPGs, because of how much time you spend with the characters, where the story is pretty important. So for those who prefer good story to get through an RPG, regardless of how good the battles or the mechanics are, and they're pretty decent in this game, you might find Octopath a bit lacking, is all I'd have to say. So
Okay. Damn.
Samurai Warriors 5 is out right now. You can go and get it, buy it, and play it, and have lots of fun with it. I haven't gotten it yet, but I did get a chance to play the demo, and I dig it. It's good. Okay. It's really good, actually. It's not overly complicated like some of the more recent Musou games have been. The speed is slowed down a little bit, but then again, that could just be by proxy of playing with characters that are baby level, zero level characters with zero level equipment. But I like how the game is set up to where you can equip special actions up to 4 in addition to your regular attacks, your Musou attacks, your rage attacks, and your special attacks. And then everything else is just like any other Warriors game. And it seems to have much more of a focus on story, and the characters unlock as you go through the story, and then you can go back and play old missions in free mode if you want to choose different characters. But for the story modes, you're limited to one or a few characters to play as, which really forces you to try out all the different characters. I feel like Warrior games in recent years have suffered from, I think, around 7 or 8 up to now, because any character can equip any weapon, and you can go through the story mode as them, and so you end up just picking a favorite weapon, and then the gameplay doesn't really change up. I like it when it kind of forces you through the paces. Not to really go far back in time, but one of my favorite Warriors games of all time is probably Dynasty Warriors 3, because every single character in that game had a unique story mode, and they could only equip their weapon, and they had an ultimate unique weapon that you would have to get through like unique circumstances on hard mode in a battle. And it felt very singular and unique to that character. So then it felt like you really wanted to go through and play each character's story mode. Now, some story modes would play out similarly, especially if those two characters were really close, but they'd always be slightly different, and you'd have different scenes for each character. With the huge roster they have nowadays, because even back then it was actually kind of gigantic when you think about it.
Yeah.
It seems like they just either don't have the resources, or they just don't want to do a story like that. But this seems to be a good fix, where you go through a story mode and they kind of pick the characters for you, and you kind of bounce back and forth between them, and then you can still do that kind of free mode thing if you want to go back and play previous levels as different characters. So I feel like that's a good compromise. Yeah. So that way you can still have a strong story. So yeah, I'm probably going to pick it up. I don't know when. It's going to be Samurai Warriors 5 pretty soon, and then of course August I think is going to be Ghost of Tsushima month for me.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Monday night Brawlers. So Space Jam, A New Legacy. We talked about it last week. It's got its own video game.
Okay.
You would think it would be a basketball game, considering.
Would you?
Yeah, because, Space Jam is a basketball movie. So why wouldn't this video game be a basketball game? There's literally a game in the movie. It could have been that game.
That's true. But that's just NBA Jam.
Yeah, I'm not mad, but do an NBA Jam with Space Jam characters. I think that you would find your footing. But what they decided to do instead, Digital Eclipse made the game, and they made a beat 'em up. It's free. I don't know if it's like limited time Xbox, but right now it's only on Xbox. So maybe eventually you'll see it pop up on other systems. But you can play as LeBron or Bugs or Lola. And it's interesting. You have a basketball, and if you charge your attack, you can throw it at enemies with 3 different charges. Mm-hmm. And if you throw it off screen, Tweety Bird will bring it back. Tweety Bird won't bring it to you. Tweety Bird will just bring it back to the middle of the screen and drop it. So you still got to go get it if you're not, which is... and then, of course, you got your punches and your kicks and your jump kicks, and you got your special that takes a little bit of life if you press the jump and the attack button together. And then you have these cards where you can like summon different Looney Tunes characters. So you might summon Granny, and she'll drop a bunch of food on the field so you can heal up. Or maybe you summon Tweety Bird, and you get extra strength in your attacks for a limited time, something like that. Or Taz will do like an area attack and just attack all the enemies on screen for you. It was surprisingly better put together than I thought it would be. Like, I'm not going to say it doesn't feel cheap at all. It's kind of, definitely retro. It's very pixelated. It's got kind of like a 16-bit era type feel to it. But if it came out during like the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis games, or Sega Genesis days, it would have been hailed as one of the better beat 'em ups.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it better than Shaq Fu: A Legend Reborn?
Definitely. It's definitely better than Shaq Fu: A Legend Reborn, or the old Shaq Fu for that matter.
Hey.
It's not as good as, say, like Streets of Rage, but what is? But it's a contender. You know what I mean? So
Right.
for those who have Xbox, I think you can get it if you have Games Pass Ultimate. So worth checking out. You can get through the game. Like, I think I actually beat it in 2 hours, and that unlocks hard mode and a boss rush mode. And that'll allow you, if you beat hard mode or boss rush, you get an extra card for each, and all the other cards you get for summoning characters you unlock as you progress through the story on normal.
So what are the enemies you fight? Are you just fighting a bunch of Don Cheadles, or?
Robots, actually. Various robots.
Oh, okay.
And they do switch up the type of robots that you fight. Some of the robots can catch your basketball if it isn't charged up all the way. And they actually have a combo system, and you can knock enemies in the air and keep hitting them to get extra points. So it's like points driven. It feels very classic and competently put together. I haven't played, or I should say, I don't recall playing a bunch of Digital Eclipse games, but the logo stands out because I know they made a lot of Game Boy Advance games. This feels very much like a Game Boy Advance game. And I think one of the things I played that they did put together was the port of Phantasy Star 1 through 3. I remember seeing their logo on that. So they know what they're doing. Like, they've been doing this for a while. And like I said, it's a competent game. I would say, like I said, Xbox owners, definitely check it out. For First Time Tuesdays, I ended up playing Wonderboy, Asha in Monsterland, which is the recent game in the Wonderboy, Monster Boy series. Have you played any of the Wonderboy or Monster Boy games?
I have not. I have heard of them, though.
They're pretty fun. They're traditionally kind of hard.
Yeah.
Although I heard that this one's on one of the ones on the easier side. I could see that, although I did reach a point in the game where I was like, where do I go? What do I do? And I had to look up a guide, and it was like, just go this way. And I looked, and there was just no indication you could go that way. And I took a leap of faith, and I was able to like get to where I needed to go. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I played...
that's the Monster Boy I remember.
Right. The only game I've played similar to that is, I think, Shantae. And those games they're fun, but they're not easy.
Yeah,
Some of that platforming is fucking difficult.
I was going to say the design, particularly of Asha in Monsterland, is very much like Shantae because she dresses like a genie. And she, instead of using her hair, she uses a sword. You can get equipment. I enjoyed Monster Boy and Cursed Kingdom a little bit better because you can actually change into different monsters, which opens up not only your combat options, but your traversal options, which is kind of cool. It switches the game up. This one's still pretty fun, and it was like fairly cheap. I think I got it for maybe $15 or $20, which is great because this is the type of these games they don't print a ton, so once they go out, they skyrocket in price. I imagine I could see Wonderboy in a couple years going for like $70 or $80. So yeah. So if you're interested, you can check that out on the Twitch channel or MC Paperstacks Plays on YouTube. See if you would be into that type of game. I enjoyed it. I'll probably go back and finish the rest of it. But like I said, there were parts that were kind of difficult, even though this is supposed to be one of the quote-unquote easier games. I don't think it's impossible to get through it, and I find it quite charming. But yeah, so far from what little I've played of that versus beating Monster Boy and Cursed Kingdom, I prefer that game. But maybe that's just because I haven't played enough of Asha to really make a good comparison.
Okay.
Thursday was my son's first day in kindergarten.
Oh...
Yeah, he got back and he was just sweaty and happy. And I was like, oh, he kept his mask on all day. What a good kid.
Right.
But anyways, so he came up to me and he was like, can we play Sneaky Linky? And I was like, I got to stream. And then I thought about it and I was like, wait a second. It's Casual Thursday. I can stream whatever the fuck I want to stream. So we had a father-son stream.
Yay.
Yeah, I played Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or what my son and I affectionately refer to as Sneaky Linky. Because Link likes to sneak around. At least our Link does.
You're right.
And it was fun. We sat back and we fought a Lionel, silver-maned one, so it was pretty tough because I was not prepared. We solved a couple of puzzles, including one of the labyrinths where you get the barbarian armor from. We traversed the land. We checked out different things. It was a great time. So yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that, and it was neat to have him on the stream. he got a little wild at one point. He was like repeating something over and over again. And I was like, easy. He was like, okay. He's 5. Right. And then for Friday Night Frights, I played Kuon on PS2. You actually joined me for a little bit for that.
Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's a From Software game, one of those rare From Software games that came out before Dark Souls, or Demon Souls, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like Metal Wolf Chaos a little bit more than this one. Kuon was interesting, sure. And I think in its heyday, it would have been definitely something I'd sink my teeth into. I do feel like I want to go back and finish the rest, but it's a lot more Resident Evil in that you have to go back and forth and unlock things. And because it's older and of an older design, I would say it's even more cryptic than the original Resident Evil as far as like where you need to go and what you need to do. It feels almost like maybe like a Clock Tower or Alone in the Dark, but ancient Japan version. Right. And it was really clunky. Like I was playing mainly as a priestess. I hit a really hard wall where I had to solve this sliding block puzzle, and I was like, "Fuck this noise." And I played as the other character for a bit because I was like, "This is the type of thing I'd have to look up." The thing is, I could have eventually solved the puzzle on my own, but watching me figure it out in real time on stream was probably the most mind-numbing, boring thing ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing as the priestess of all the powers, I could kind of handle the monsters, but because she was so clunky, sometimes they got around and hit me, and that was weird. And it was interesting that they had kind of like that sanity thing that gave you vertigo. So the more scared you got, the more off balance you were. And eventually, you couldn't use your powers until you calmed down. But you can't calm down until you get away from the danger and then have a chance to like meditate, which I thought was an interesting mechanic. It meant that if I let a battle get away from me, I couldn't just muscle my way through it. Like I'd have to run away or try to get away, or I would probably die. So
yeah.
It's interesting. Tonight, which will already be up by the time that this episode goes out, I'm going to be playing a game called Ghost Hunter.
Okay.
Oh, you know anything about it? I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, just that I had gotten a copy of it a few years ago, and this was before it was like super expensive as it is now. I don't even know what it goes for now.
It's prohibitively expensive, yeah, and it's something I've always wanted to try out, but I don't know much about it. It could end up being terrible. Who knows? But I'll find that out tonight, and that pretty much wraps up what I've been playing this week. So that would mean it's time for gaming news. Gaming news. Not a lot of news this week, though. Very light news week, which ain't nothing wrong with that. But I'll go ahead and let you kick things off because you had mentioned earlier there was a trailer you saw this week you thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, so at one of Sony's previous State of Plays, they showed off a game called Stray, and it's where you play as a cat in kind of a post-apocalyptic robot society where there are no humans. And the trailer actually showed gameplay and stuff, and you literally just a little kitty cat, and you're traversing the world, and there are apparently some sort of monstrous critters. I forget what they were called, but the robots are afraid of them. They chase you and try to attack you. I would liken it to the Flood in Halo, where with any area that they're in, you're just like trying to run and get away from them. And then they showed off eventually you can get like this ultraviolet light that completely like destroys them. So I was like, okay, so this has like a bunch of different stuff going on, and you can interact with the robots and meet them and talk to them, and they can send you on missions and stuff. And it just looks really, really, I don't know, it looks cool. And I'm not even a cat person, but I know that cat people are going crazy. I actually saw one article. It was titled something like, I saw the Stray cat game, and I need you to give it to me now, and I don't care. Just give me that cat game.
I feel like 2020 was the year of cats. I saw so many cats show up in my video games.
Yeah.
I mean, Judgment came out in 2020, and it's all about the cats, right?
That's
and then
true.
you have Final Fantasy VII Remake and all the strays that... Was it Wedge, I think?
Yeah.
Had all the stray cats.
Yeah.
And the cats look great in that game, by the way. I think that there was... Wasn't there like a cat in Last of Us Part 2? There was a lot of games where I played that had cats.
I'm sure.
I just have several memories streaming last year being like, this game got cats too. Oh, Cyberpunk 2077, got them cats.
Got them cats.
Yeah, got them cats. So, I don't know. They're coming back in video games in a big way.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to be releasing early 2022, so might be something to be on the lookout for.
Is that on PS5?
Oh, yeah, PS4, PS5. I believe Xbox as well.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
don't know
cool.
about Switch.
Crossing my fingers it'll come to Games Pass. Save me some money.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, speaking of PS5, we finally have some solid state drive SSD expansion options for the PS. Yay! Things are a bit messy though. The compatible drives out there sound kind of complicated to install. I'll save our listeners all the details and the jargon. You can Google that if you're interested in looking up what's currently compatible, but I heard things like it may require installing additional heat sinks, and that may or may not fit properly in the shell of the PS5, and that, some are bigger than others, and then installing them may get complicated. And usually when you have a firmware update that allows the functionality of add-ons like they're releasing soon, which would allow for these external drives, you also get a list from that publisher, the manufacturer. You get a list from Sony, basically, that would tell you what compatible drives are, and they didn't do that yet. So I'm holding off until Sony does release the list of compatibles so I can see, what they would recommend that would fit best, and then let other people kind of work through the nitty-gritty of it. It's just another thing that Xbox has on PS5 right now. Like, Microsoft's over here laughing because they're like, do you have a Seagate laying around? Yeah, it hooks to your Series X. You're done. Now, to be fair, part of the reason why it's complicated is because it's an SSD. The benefit of the PS5 is that them load times are crazy fast. And in my experience, that is kind of a leg up. But at the same time, if storage is your thing and you don't care so much about the loading, you already got that in spades on the Xbox Series X. I got a few Seagates laying around because I went crazy and bought a bunch of them on sale. So I had one hooked up to my 360, one to my Xbox One, one to my PS4. I got like two terabyte ones. And I got I had one. I had a 1 terabyte hooked up to 360. I was like, I will never have to delete anything off this thing ever again.
Right.
But now I have a Series X, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
So that happened. Keep an eye out for updates on that if you're interested. At least, again, the firmware update is out there. We don't have to worry about when's it going to come. It's coming. And then shortly after, we should see a more comprehensive list of compatibles. I just hope they don't try to go too proprietary with it and go, oh, well, the best one is going to be the special Sony one. And if you really want to get the most out of it, and that's going to cost you an extra $80 on top of the usual, what they did with the whole proprietary memory for their handhelds.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of money I spent for an 80 gig card on the Vita makes me sick physically. It's terrible. So, anyways, the last bit of news that we have, again, it's a light news week. I guess we could talk a little bit about Blizzard, but there's not much going on there. Just other than that, it's just a gross mess. I'm encouraged to see that a lot of the employees have staged walkouts. A lot of people at Ubisoft are showing solidarity with the sexual assault survivors at Blizzard because a lot wasn't really done when that all came out, and now we're getting a lot of attention on Blizzard and to bringing back up the issues with Ubisoft. A lot of people are staging sit-ins on World of Warcraft servers and other online Blizzard games. And for those who haven't already renewed their subscription, they're not renewing it. There was a particular day this week where no one, we just boycotted playing anything from Activision Blizzard. And of course, you have a lot of people that are like, I'm hashtag anti-SJW, hashtag super straight, hashtag I'm a douchebag. And they're all like, I'm going to play more Call of Duty, bro. Cool.
Right.
Do you, buddy? If taking up for people who are being sexually harassed at work somehow bothers you, well, A, you suck, but B, nobody's worried about your opinion. Go away.
Yeah, and then they're like, the employees still need to get paid, so I'm going to play the game.
I'm like, yeah, all that money you're paying to them is definitely going straight to the employees and not to Bobby Kotick's, special summer cottage. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that already wasn't an issue, all the layoff and firing and all the money going, filtering to the top. Fuck that company from top to bottom. Ooh. And for people to go, well, if they didn't like it, they should just leave. Whoo!
Right, Don't get started.
Anyways, that's a whole nother thing. So the last bit of news that I wanted to mention was that Horizon Forbidden West, multiple sources are reporting that it's getting delayed to Q1 2022 at least, which is fine. I'm not really sure about the reason for this. I looked up and just saw, Bloomberg and a few other outlets hinting at it. Did you see anything about why that it might be being delayed?
No, I didn't see anything, but you can just assume that it's like putting the final touches on. Just wanting to put out a great, amazing game with no game-breaking bugs or anything. Like, nobody wants Cyberpunk to happen to their game.
Yeah.
So companies are going to be extra careful, and they're going to delay games as long as they need to.
Yeah, I was thinking it was either that or maybe just the fact that, there's not enough PS5s in people's hands. Because while PS5 and the Series X and S are shattering sales records, a lot of those systems aren't in actual game players' hands yet. They're still in the hands of scalpers, right?
Yeah, I saw the PS5 sold like 10 million units.
Yeah. 8 million by scalpers, 2 million of actual people have them. Yeah, so so software sales are going to suffer until those things get released by these greedy scalpers. Either they start selling them at MSRP or people get desperate and buy them above MSRP. I hope they just end up with a bunch of stock that they have to sell at a loss. I really do. Yeah. Because it's ridiculous what they did. Like, I mean, it seems to get worse and worse every single release. It does. Yeah. What are you going to do? All right, well, let's get on to listener questions. We have a listener question this week. Ron B. writes in, our favorite listener. He writes in to talk to us about trophy and achievement hunting, because we had mentioned it on one of our recent episodes. So he said that his oldest son and him were playing Spider-Man Remastered recently, and he was grabbing some of the backpack collectibles. His kid mentioned that he thought it would be cool if when he got collectibles or trophies, he could earn something in real life, like a real life collectible. And, that's something that kids say. I would say stuff like that pretty often. Like, wouldn't it be cool if? But it got him thinking about ways that trophies and achievement systems could be improved. And his son's idea of earning real world items, he thinks, has some kind of life to it. To add to that, he was thinking physical or monetary items for earning platinum trophies or 100%ing a game would be cool. Reward points that can be used for future purchases. Maybe an actual physical platinum trophy or other collectibles that you can get by 100%ing a certain number of games or certain types of games. As it stands, spending the time to actually complete a game 100% is, it's just for yourself, maybe some bragging rights amongst your friends. But the implementation of real-life rewards would be fantastic, he thinks. So he wanted to know from us what we thought would be some ways that can improve the current system if we had any ideas, and how we think that could be implemented. So I'll give it to you first. Do you have any ideas of what you'd want to see as far as maybe some more feedback or rewards for 100%ing a game?
Yeah, so my idea is not so much physical rewards, but it's basically bringing back the cheat code. A la Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. The way that they do collectibles and giving you something to extend your enjoyment of the game after you've beaten it or while you're even playing it would be so nice. Just imagine The Last of Us Part 2. You're playing The Last of Us Part 2, you've 100%ed it, and guess what? Now that you've got the Platinum Trophy, you can go through with unlimited ammo, fully upgraded weapons, and just kind of fuck around in the game and just have, fun.
Doesn't Last of Us 2 Part 2 have that kind of system, though? I thought...
Does it?
Yeah, in the main menu, you can toggle stuff like that once you've collected a certain amount of things, I thought. Is that not true?
Oh, man, I don't know.
I think you just used an example that actually exists. That doesn't mean it isn't a good example. I think it's great.
Okay, well, some games do this. But
you just want to see more of it.
Yeah, if more games started to do it, it'd be more interesting. Like Spider-Man. Like his example, Spider-Man Remastered.
I completely agree.
And this might be another one that already does it, but it's just something that I don't really think about. And now I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, so in the case of Spider-Man, of course, when you get those backpacks and you get all of them, you get an in-game costume.
You get the... Right.
And stuff like that I think is already enough. But one of the things that Mass Effect did that I thought was really cool, when you got achievements in Mass Effect, they would affect your subsequent playthroughs. So, for example, if you got maximum Paragon points, then your next playthrough, I think you get an additional 5% at Paragon experience, so you'd max out your Paragon faster. And then if you maxed out, like if you got your achievement for assault rifles or shotguns, you would do more damage with those weapons on your subsequent playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So each achievement would actually give you some kind of in-game buff or reward that made your subsequent playthroughs a little bit more streamlined and easier, and made it easier and funner to go back if you want to try higher difficulties. Thought that was really cool.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, dovetailing on your example, I really think that those are some great ways to implement it internally, non-physically, right? Now, as far as physically, what I've seen, I mean, I gushed about this with Xbox Series X. What I've seen them do is achievements actually do go towards points that you can get to get like swag or gift cards. So I'd like to see more of an implementation of that across the board. Nintendo doesn't have trophies or achievements yet, but if they ever started up, that could be another way to earn their gold coins, where you can use those to get money off future purchases, or the platinum coins that they give you, which, you know, you kind of already get those from playing games or going and doing challenges on the website, so that could be more robust and streamlined across all their games. And that gets you physical rewards too. Like I've gotten some stickers from Xenoblade, and I got like a notebook that was themed after Age of Calamity. Like I got those limited edition Mario pins from buying the Mario game and then doing the Mario challenge. Like those are cool, right? So those are some real world examples that are not necessarily tied to trophies or achievements, but are tied to doing a little bit of extra stuff on their website and through the games, right?
Okay, yeah.
And as far as his idea about getting real world collectibles, yeah, you know, back in the Atari and NES games, sometimes games would have contests where if you got a certain way into a game, that you would be able to send proof of your achievement, and they would send you stuff, and it was really neat. I don't think it would cost that much, especially in this age, as far as how cheap it is to ship things and how much money we pay for the games in the first place. And it'd be a good way to extend the play of games, because really a developer and a publisher, they want you to keep playing their game. And a lot of times they'll go to live services for that, but that's putting a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So wouldn't it be cool if one of the ways that you were encouraged to play the game is, you know how like if you get enough views on YouTube, they send you a plaque?
Yeah.
What if you got a plaque for every 10 or 20 or 50 platinum trophies you got, and you can hang that up on your wall? Because honestly, dude, if Sony sent me a plaque that said, you got 100 platinum trophies, here's your plaque, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm put this right here, and that's going to show up on my streams.
I'm going to put this right above my bed.
Right?
You're going to put it right above your bed.
My wife's going to see it, and it's going to turn her on. She's going to be all over
Right.
me.
She's like, oh, wow, 100 plats.
Wow, your e-peen must be huge. Give it to me.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, so no, I think it actually would be kind of cool, and it's a neat concept to think about. As it stands, it's still enough for me to go after them, because I think it's like in a way to extend gameplay in a game I already enjoy. I used to do this back in the 360 days, where I would play a game I didn't like just because I knew the achievements were easy to get.
Yeah,
but again, I had more time, and it was fun to watch that number rise. Nowadays, the only time I usually get a platinum is if I really, really like the game and the platinum isn't impossible. I'm still working on the platinum for Final Fantasy IX, because while it's not impossible, it's very time consuming. I have to defeat 10,000 enemies. It's like the last trophy I need. And there's no in-game counter, so every once in a while I just boot up Final Fantasy IX and fight a few battles for like an hour or so, and I'm like, well, I'm a little bit closer one of these days. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps that up, Ron. Hopefully that satisfactorily answers your question. Speaking of questions, I got a question this week for you, Derek.
All right.
I just got to know, this week, what you feeling?
I am feeling Fear Street Part 2, 1978 on Netflix. Now, if you remember, we talked about Fear Street Part 1 a few weeks ago on the podcast, and it was garbage.
I couldn't even finish it, dude.
Oh my God.
They just loaded me down with pop songs, one after the other. I remember I was complaining about it on Twitter, and somebody was like, the pop songs are meant to relay their mood. I'm like, yeah, no shit. When the girl like feels all alone and she puts on her headset and it says, I'm a creep, I get it.
Right.
My point isn't that they're used. It's that they're used very lazily and clumsily. But please continue.
Yeah, so Part 1 was trash. We know this.
Yes.
But Part 2 is actually really fun. It's basically a ode to classic slasher movies. You know, you got the kids at camp, and oh no, there's a killer. And there are girls that like boys, and there are camp counselors having sex when they're not supposed to be doing all that. They're doing drugs. Like, just a bunch of cliche
Jason
actions.
Voorhees bullshit. Got it.
Yes, and it's great. I enjoyed every moment of it. It's like so much more enjoyable than the first part. And it actually like the storyline at this point, the halfway point, actually has me really interested to watch the next part, because it actually brings everything together really cohesively. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's why we had to go back and hear this story, so they could figure this out in the present. So now in the next one, when they go even further back, they're going to find something else, and then hopefully be able to take care of everything. So,
Okay.
I don't know, man. I really enjoyed it. I like those classic slasher films, and just watching people make weird decisions that I wouldn't make. Like when you knock the killer out or whatever, and then you're just kind of sitting there talking about your feelings. I'm like, why aren't you leaving? Leave!
Yeah. Double tap and then get out of there.
There's something supernatural going on here. You need to get out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun time. I really enjoyed that.
I'll be watching this week then. I will. I'll check it out this week.
Yeah, I'll be watching part 3 probably tonight or tomorrow. So hopefully be feeling that next week.
Okay, well we'll see.
We'll see. Good.
Cool. Did you read any of the Fear Street books by R.L. Stein?
No.
I didn't read those. I read all the Goosebumps books, obviously. I was huge into Goosebumps when I was a kid. And then when I got older, I did read a book that R.L. Stein wrote for adults. I don't remember the name, but it was about superstition. Basically, this lady, she's either new in town, or she just started a university, or maybe she's a college student. And the way that she meets this professor is he throws salt on her, like from behind the booth. And he didn't mean to throw it on her. He was doing that thing, you know, where if you spill salt, you have to throw some over your right shoulder or whatever.
Yeah.
And they fall in love, and then you find out that he's cursed, that if he breaks any kind of a superstition, like if he breaks a mirror, monsters come out of him and attack people.
Oh, God.
And in order to get rid of the curse, he has to pass it on to somebody else, I think sexually. So he's marked her for that
curse.
Yeah, but who he's really in love with is his sister, who isn't really his sister, but she pretends to be his sister because she's in on it. And then like the woman catches the two of them together, and she's like, gross. And then you find out they're not related, and you're like, that's a little better.
Right.
But I remember the thing I remember about the book very succinctly is one of the monsters gets a hold of like the local like sheriff or head security guy. I can't remember exactly what his job is. He had a gun. And it like leaned into him, and it seemed like it hugged him. That's the way he described it. But then it bit his ear really hard, and he punched it, and its mouth was open, so his hand went all the way down its throat, and then he just grabbed the nearest organ he could find and ripped it out of the monster's body. And I was like, this ain't no Goosebumps book. Whoo!
Right.
So R.L. Stein gets buck wild, and he's killing kids in these movies. So if you're into that,
oh yeah,
Netflix.
Fear Street Part 2, kids are
They're getting offed.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and this is random. There's a new Chucky TV series coming out.
Oh yeah.
And I watched the trailer for it, and it looks amazing and silly and stupid. And I can't wait. I love Chucky. It's so fun.
All right. Well, this week, I wasn't really sure what to talk about, but I noticed that I was watching a whole lot of Jarvis Johnson lately. So I thought,
who's that?
I'll just talk about Jarvis. I'll tell you exactly who he is. Jarvis Johnson is a YouTube personality, although I think he's big on Instagram too, but I'm not big on Instagram, so to me, he's a YouTube personality. Mm-hmm. He's just a talking head that does videos about different stuff. Lately, he's been doing a lot of videos about bad talk shows. So he talked about how the worst talk show ever is still on the air, Maury, and how bad it really is. And then he talked recently about Maury. Jerry Springer. He's talked about other bad YouTubers, you know, like the Darman videos where they try to like make a video with a point. You see them pop up on Facebook all the time too, but they're slightly off, and the point they're trying to make really isn't that moral or right. Or like those cartoons, like the True Stories.
Yeah,
he was on doing all the TikTok recipes. You know, those crazy ladies that were cooking food in the toilet or throwing Cheetos in boiling water, stupid shit like that. He'll cover that kind of stuff too, so it's fun to watch. I mean, you see Double Toasted do stuff like that sometimes. think that, but just a different personality talking about it. So
Gotcha.
I'm into him. I like his vibe. I think he's pretty interesting and funny. So I've been watching a lot of that. So if you're into somebody watching like bad Netflix dating shows and ripping on them, and you aren't already watching Jarvis among all the other folks out there that do that, I think he's one of the better ones to do it. So
Okay. I actually did watch a bad dating show. I watched all of Sexy Beast on Netflix.
I don't know if he talked about Sexy Beast yet, but I know that Double Toasted did. I haven't seen their episode on it yet, but it looks bad.
It is. It's pretty bad.
I'm pretty sure if he hasn't talked about Sexy Beast yet, he will, because he talked about Love is Blind, and he talked about, what was the other one, Too Hot to Handle, or the one where they couldn't touch?
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what that one is. Yeah,
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. So,
Right.
yeah, check him out if you're into that. Sounds like he might be. And that is what I am feeling this week.
Awesome.
All right, so it is going to be ad time here in a second. We're going to go ahead and let that ride, and we'll be back to close it out in just a moment. All right, and we're back. What a wonderful ad that was. It's the same ad we always play. Maybe somebody else will actually take notice. Who knows? In the meantime, to pay those dues, Derek, if the people are interested in them gamer goodies, possibly more, where can they locate you at? Check out the stuff you have in your store.
So they can check out everything I have for sale at ebay.com/str/gamergoodies and more. They can follow me on Instagram at gamergoodiesmore and Twitter at goodies_more. I'm posting stuff, trying to post stuff every day, but you know how life goes. So, you know, I do it when I can. So check me out.
I think you're doing all right, man. Well, also, you can find us at our main hub at anchor.fm/player2 is enter the pod. And we post episodes every single Sunday. We can be listened to at that hub or anywhere you can find podcasts available. That includes Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube. Facebook.com/player2 is enter the pod. The YouTube channel is called Player2 is enter the podcast. And we put notifications of new episodes as they drop if you'd like to subscribe or follow us there. You can follow me personally. I'm on Twitter at MikePetersonAL, and I also do Twitch streaming, twitch.tv/MCPaperstacks, and you can check the schedule, but I typically stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays. And finally, we have a Patreon, so if you'd like to support our Patreon and consider throwing a few bucks our way to help support the show, all that money will go back into the show to make it even better experience for our listeners. You can visit patreon.com/player2 is enter the pod, and check out the different tiers to see if something interests you and helps support us. We'd really appreciate it. And that is our show.
And what a show it was. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Love you. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Peace.